Hello and welcome to the Empowered Spirituality Podcast. This is a guided meditation episode, and I'm Samantha. If you have never read Untamed by Glennon Doyle, one, what are you waiting for? It's so good. And two, I'm going to be taking a little phrase that she uses in her book and that she's said since in interviews and that she helps other women with, which is figuring out the truest, most beautiful story that we can tell about our lives. Such a beautiful concept. She says she uses this with women who have a hard time saying exactly what they want because that's overwhelming sometimes. But a story we don't have to necessarily act on. And also, she points out the soul kind of speaks in stories sometimes, which I think is so beautiful. So today we're going to practice a guided meditation about the truest, most beautiful stories that we can tell about our lives. But we're not going to be writing it down, but you can. We're going to be seeing it in our mind's eye. The truest and most beautiful stories we can tell about ourselves. So just take some time here to really get yourself settled, sitting, standing, laying down, and maybe ensuring that you have privacy if that's available to you. Getting comfy and cozy. And start by connecting to your breath. Taking a few moments here to just notice the natural rhythm of your breath, of your inhales and exhales. Noticing if they're shallow or deep, and letting that just give you information, not judgment. And now starting to deepen the breath, deepening your inhales, elongating them, holding at the top, and exhaling deeply and completely. Bringing your awareness to the body as we do a quick check-in, noticing with compassion and non-judgment where there's tension or just feelings of being stuck or uncomfortable or painful in the body. And checking in with the emotions as well, noticing any emotions that are asking for your attention here. Still breathing very deeply, being connected with our body and our breath. And now doing a scan of our thoughts as well, noticing the quality and frequency and intensity of our thoughts with, again, non-judgment and non-compassion. Also non-attachment, letting thoughts pop up, acknowledging them, and then returning to center with the breath. Now I'd like to ask you this simple question. And whatever visual or thought or feeling comes up as soon as I ask this question, I want you to latch onto that and sit with it. I want to ask you what the truest, most beautiful version of yourself feels or looks like. Really breathing into that feeling, really focusing on that thought. If you're having trouble coming up with an answer, maybe you can just think of a few words now to describe the truest and most beautiful version of yourself. For me, she's authentic, abundant, loving, and also has boundaries and is in her own power. She's embodied, she's sensual, she's a space holder, she's creative. Maybe you can think of some words now that represent your truest and most beautiful story you can hold about yourself. And if your mind wants to wander, I get it. That's what the mind does. But compassionately bring it back and really sit with this feeling, these words, the sensation of your truest and most beautiful story about yourself. Also, remembering that you don't have to do anything with this story. It can be scary to hold these visions, hold these feelings and thoughts and hopes and dreams, because it might mean we have to do something with them. It might mean we have to make changes. And that can be really scary. And maybe we're not ready, or maybe we're not safe enough to do that. So just remind yourself, this is just a story we're telling. That's it. We're just curious here. The story that you think of now is not a story you have to stick to later. And with that, give yourself the permission to dream the most true, the most beautiful version, right? You can dream, you can envision, you can feel wild, crazy, out there things that seem impossible. But this is your story. And that's all it is, just a story. So let your mind wander to those big dreams that you feel like maybe aren't reasonable or realistic for you. Continuing to breathe really deeply and really consciously. Now I'd like you to see this if you're not seeing it already. See this version of you standing in front of you and really look at them. Look at what they're wearing. Look at their hair. Look at the way they're standing or sitting or laying. Look at the way they hold themselves. Look at the energy that's around them and the energy that they give you in their presence. Most of all, I'd like for you to look in their eyes and see the light in their eyes, see the fire in their eyes. As cheesy as it is, windows are the eyes to the soul. So look at this version of yourself and look into their eyes, look into their soul, look into your soul. Now I'd like you to see this version of yourself doing the things that you maybe told in your story, right? They're interacting in relationships in the way that you imagine. They're doing an activity that you imagine them doing or that you imagine you doing. Just imagine this version of you living out those beautiful, wild dreams you made up, that you saw, that you felt. Now I'd ask you, or I'm going to ask you to invite this version of you to give you a message, to tell you what it needs to tell you, to really absorb that message from this version of yourself. Breathing really deeply and intentionally here. And now taking this space to say whatever you need to say to this version of you in front of you. Now I'd like you to imagine reaching out to this version of you and giving them a hug. And perhaps even in this moment, you give yourself physically a hug. Knowing that this version of you, even if just created by a story, this version of you is always with you. This truest and most beautiful version of you is always with you, is always a part of you. And they are always available for you to tap in on and connect with. And before we close out of our guided visualization, take this time to say whatever else needs to be said to this version of you. And maybe you just decide to hold yourself in a hug a little while longer. And go ahead and give gratitude to this version of you for the things that it showed you, for the things that it said to you, that they've said to you. And give gratitude for yourself because you wrote this story. You created this beautiful version of you in front of you. Maybe even placing a hand on your heart here and really giving yourself compassion and love and feeling it flow through your hand into your heart underneath you. Making sure you're returning to nice, deep, conscious inhales in, holding at the top and exhaling out. And now connecting to the body again in the here and the now. Noticing all the sensations inside the body. Noticing the fabric on your skin, the surface underneath you, the sounds around you. Bringing some conscious movement into the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes, moving the neck and the shoulders, giving the body a little tap or pat on the arms, legs, or even some taps on the face or the jaw or the chest. Maybe even shaking out the hands, tapping the feet on the ground. And then we'll close with 3 very beautiful, very deep breaths. Let's do it together. Deep breath in, hold, and sigh it out. Let yourself make some sound. Deep breath in, hold, and sigh it out. And one more on your own pace. Beautiful. And as you slowly open your eyes, slowly take in the world around you, the room around you. And maybe you choose to grab a journal and write that down. Write your beautiful story down. Write your beautiful vision down. Or maybe you just choose to do something compassionate and nice for yourself here. Grab a tea, some water, your favorite snack, a beautiful meal, a shower, imagining some energy running down off of your body into the drain. And thank you, my friend, for joining me on this guided meditation for the truest and most beautiful story about yourself. Until next time.